Welcome, friends, conspiracy theorists, truth seekers, Americans. Welcome back to the news tonight. I'm Gilbert Chavez. If you're not familiar, this is episode 7, right? We're running into some smoother ground. I feel good. I feel great. The subject matter is dark. It's consistently dark and darker. But as I've said before, it just goes as far as to illustrate the truth of the light as well. So yeah, if I could equate today's episode to any experience that you may have had in life, it's when you have the substitute teacher and and you're like, oh boy, I hope we watch a video today. Guess what? I'm rolling in the cart with the TV. So I'm not looking forward to any kind of headaches I may experience with copyright, and maybe down the line I could work something out as far as being monetized, but this people need to know this now. They do. There's no question about it. There is not a single question about it. I guess we can start right with another Epstein email, because the mainstream media, the people that lead our government, influencers that have influenced the culture for 30 years on, even the president of the United States wants to move on from the Epstein files, but there's just too much there. There's just too much there that needs to be accounted for, and I have this excerpt from Yahoo News, February 5th, 2026. This was like 21 days ago. And the emails, of course, came from way before that. So, Epstein's interest was not merely theoretical. As an investor, too, Epstein was fascinated by the possibility of designer babies and genetically engineered children. In one document released by the DOJ, Epstein recounted a conversation with Andrew Mountbatten Windsor about cloning. One of several times cloning comes up in the Epstein files. Quote, "I want to start cloning things. Me," he says. Quote, "And with certain people, Prince Andrew got upset. He was all, if it had a conscience, could you kill it for spare parts? And I said, I'll make it without a head. Would that make you feel better?" That's the end of the quote and the end of the excerpt. I did hear about him discussing this with Katie Couric and it making her sick. And I'd hopefully overlay that that excerpt with something that reflects, something that has been reflected to us in the media through the TV show American Horror Story, where at the end of the half of season about aliens, they were trying to impregnate people, right? They were trying to impregnate people with alien hybrid babies to make the perfect hybrid. And when they found a woman who could produce the perfect hybrid, it took them from 1953 to 2023. When they found this perfect woman, they chopped her head off, attached a module to the rest of her body so that her body would stay alive, and use her to produce hybrids infinitely. Now in the TV shows, the aliens that did this. It was the aliens working with Area 51. I've done a lot this season, and built the back of this show basically on this concept of revelation of the method, aka Twilight language, aka predictive programming. Welcome to reality.
The date is
February 27th, 2026.
This is your news tonight. With your host, Gilbert Chavez.
So let's define the terms, right? These three things, Twilight language, revelation of the method, and predictive programming. Conspiracy theorists use the three to refer to the same thing of basically the people in power relaying to us their true aspirations, their true agendas, their true ongoings through the format of television, TV shows, popular culture. What I just gave you, right? The American Horror Story. We've touched on American Horror Story and Ryan Murphy and Brad Falchuk a number of times already during the course of this series, and just having stuff like this come to light, and then going back and seeing it in people's creative work, it's disturbing. It begs the question: how much do these people know, and how complicit are they in the goings on of the dark elite, right? I don't even want to call them elite anymore. We shouldn't be calling them elite. They're fucking parasites. I guess I should have gone as far as to find out the origins of these three terms, right? But I'm just going based. We're doing a crash course show today, right? So just usually when I'm doing the show for the whole week ahead, I'll be listening to videos and committing stuff to memory, writing sources down. I could have, honestly, this is my bad. I could have at least done a definition search for each of these three, but I'll give you basically what I think they mean, right? And where I heard them from. So Twilight language, I heard from Kurt Metzger, the Derp with Kurt. He said it came from from Iranian mystery schools, Zoroastrian mystery schools, where basically Twilight language is a way of speaking in symbols, which the mystery schools in the Tablets of Thoth, they talk about speaking in symbols. It's not a required, but it's suggested to keep out the people who aren't fully matured, who aren't fully a breath in spirit. They're not connected to God. You can't try. Part of the problem with talking about a lot of the stuff with quote unquote normies is that they're just not ready to hear it. But if and I'm not gonna adhere to the dark aspects of people who've taken over Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, who really believe and have gone as far as to put forth all of their resources to make the present day into the last times referred to in these religious texts. But at this point in time, we don't have time to do the whole training art, to do the whole you're my grasshopper, do push-ups, sit outside the temple to show me you're worthy. Every single human being created on this earth is created in God's image and has a spark of the divine inside of them. And if you want to do the whole you need your fucking scientific proof, let's just say that God doesn't exist. That there's no aliens, that it's just us humans here on this rock. There's no excuse for the behavior that the oligarchs and the billionaires and trillionaires have gotten away with. There's no excuse. And beyond that, they're doing rituals. They're fucking sacrificing children in circles. They're raping people in circles, and they're invoking whatever the fuck they're invoking. You know, belief is a very powerful thing. The human mind, the human imagination, if taken to its apex, you know, belief can affect possibly reality, mind over matter, right? It's established. It's established. So Twilight language would be just speaking in code, right? Telling secrets and seemingly laying them bare, but with nuggets of the truth inside, the truth behind the truth. Right? They talk about this in Fullmetal Alchemist even. The truth behind the truth. Wow, it kind of just... I mean, I wasn't even thinking about that when I wrote all my notes today, but that's basically what it is. You have to read between the lines and look deeper for the initiated, right? And that's where that little colloquial term or whatever, you know, comes from as well. For the uninitiated. Bringing you into the light. So that's Twilight language. It could be any tool. Any tool can be used for good or evil. The tool is just a tool. In Stephen King's The Stand, they talk about after, which not only TV shows, but I guess The Stand was one of my favorite books, and it's very unfortunate to see what Stephen King has become. He's basically become a libtard, but worse, like to the nth degree. I don't want to buy into the MAGA mentality, that Trump derangement syndrome, yada yada, but there's something there where people just can't get over the fact that Trump's the president. I was having a discussion with somebody at my job just the other day where, you know, of course nobody wanted Trump as president. In any sensible, honorable, God-fearing society, there would be honest and good people running for president, but that's not the world that we lived in, because our parents and their parents were lulled into sleep, false securities, and just it's all bullshit. So we can't be mad about the situation we got ourselves in, and we can't shirk off complicity when we get up every day and go buy a Big Mac, go to a concert. Whatever, X, Y, Z, and taxes from that go to do these nefarious things. We're complicit. So, there's Twilight language. Revelation of the method is in reference to, you know, I think I covered it a couple times already. Basically, the people who do these dark things, they follow, let's say they follow dark entities that promise them certain things. If you kill a virgin in front of me, you'll be blessed with riches, right? So if you saw one of the scariest movies in the last maybe 15 to 20 years, you may be familiar with that concept. Hereditary. Where grandma passes away and the family's like mourning her, but it turns out the grandma is part of a secret cult that had promised her grandchildren as offerings to a literal prince of hell. In the movie, that's what they refer to him as. It's a really good movie. It's really fucked up. And the more that I'm entrenched into these dark goings on, the less enjoyment I have for things I once enjoyed, you know, because they're basically fucking confessions. But revelation of the method, these dark people, these people who commit dark acts, right? Dark acts. In the instance that God is real and they're facing karmic retribution for raping children, murdering children, enslaving children, lying to their constituents, being incestuous, being idol worshippers, trying to take the throne of God for themselves, right? It's one thing if you talk bad about your brother or your sister and you step in a fucking puddle, right? Instant karma, whatever, right? That's one thing. If you're doing those other things that I fucking listed, can you imagine the karmic retribution that you'll get sent? Where this concept of reincarnation, where most people are satisfied with the fact that these people who do bad things will eventually, in their next life, be punished for it, right? A lot of people bank on that. A lot of people with good hearts bank on that. I mean, we have to let God be God at the end of the day. But these people in power, the oligarchs, the dark magicians, the pagans, in the instance that they have to face God and answer for their crimes, revelation of the method, them putting all this, what they actually do into the pop culture as entertainment, that's their get out of jail free card. They can say to God, hey, well, we told them what we were doing and they didn't do anything about it. So are we really, can we really be held accountable to the full extent? Because they were complicit. This is their fucking lawyer fucking reasoning that they think God will abide by. I've heard, I mean, just recently, I don't know, I hear so many podcasts all throughout the week that sometimes I forget to like write down when I hear something important, but somebody believed that whether it was on the Tinfoil Hat podcast or the Derp with Kerp, they were suggesting that it is worse or as bad to know about these things and be complicit about them. You know, so that's revelation of the method. And predictive programming is kind of just like a branch away from that. It would basically be getting people ready for the eventual reality of a situation. So that the American Horror Story, when I referenced about the aliens, when I saw it, it was fucking horrific. Like, I'm not even a woman. I don't have to be a woman to empathize with a woman. And that's the problem with a lot of people in my generation and a lot of people walking around in America today. If you don't think the same as I do, you're subhuman. You don't deserve to draw breath. It's not, that's demonic. And most people don't believe in God, so they don't know that they're being demonic, right? Predictive programming is getting you ready for the eventual reality. I was saying empathizing with a woman. Can you imagine an American Horror Story? That woman was like less than 30 years old, maybe, because of course American Horror, the creators have to use the hottest people that they view, right? That some of these people that they get are just so fucking, they're so hot that they're ugly. It's uncanny. They cut off her head and they just turned her into a fucking baby factory. And then if they could clone her body, they could do it doubly and triply. And like, so if you're used to that, if you're already used to that, and then the Hereditary and the Stand, where the government let loose by accident, really, a fucking I'm sorry, I'm incensed today. A pandemic that destroyed 90% of the world. It was 90% of the world in the Stand, and then it turned into a battle between good and evil and God and the devil, right? The Stand is excellent. It's like it's Stephen King's longest book, and like I said, it's sad that he became brainwashed. So, I'm going all over the place. Predictive programming is just getting you ready for these the realities of tomorrow, right? So when it comes, you're not running in the streets, breaking windows, burning targets down, yada yada yada. Which, you know, I don't think it's working, honestly. If I'm gonna be fair with you. So, I guess basically how I said, we brought the TV in here and y'all are just gonna watch TV because substitute teacher day, right? Or teacher's got a hangover. We're just gonna go over. I have a list of like movies and TV shows, basically, right? Touching on some of the themes that we've been going over in the show, maybe some other things that we haven't got into yet, and hopefully this video can be. Hopefully you can watch this video without like it being taken down for copyright. I'll try my best to figure out how we're going to do that. But before I get into that, we did talk about The Matrix in the last couple of episodes. And the creators of The Matrix, both of them ended up becoming trans women, right? They're men who transitioned into women. And you gotta wonder, like, what the connection is there. I mean, it's escaping my grasp right now because I didn't prepare myself to talk about it too much. We already did the whole transhumanism thing in the last episode, how basically the transgender movement as it exists today, right, goes hand in hand with transhumanism. Everybody becoming Matrix robots. So it's funny to me that the Matrix creators are trans. It's fucking mind blowing, really. So first off, we have a movie that I saw when basically it came out. It stars Ewan McGregor and Scarlett Johansson. It's called The Island. It's by Michael Bay, who also visited a famous island. And basically, it's about these two people. They live in like a super advanced colony, right? But everything they do is regulated. Everybody goes to a class at a certain time. I can't remember if they're born as full adults or not. But basically, Ewan McGregor and Scarlett Johansson find out that the world they're living in is a lie. And that they are clones of people that actually exist in our world. Billionaires or whatever the case may be, right? And in the island, these clones exist so that if something happens to these billionaires, if they need an instant organ transplant or blood or whatever the case may be, right? They have their body double ready to go to harvest so that they can just and this concept alone we could talk about for the duration of the show, because it's like an entire human being, not just one, hundreds, thousands. And this concept is kind of like, it's reminiscent of like The Giver. It's reminiscent of Brave New World. There's one more that's escaping my mind. But basically where it's like this dystopia where as soon as you get old, like they discard your body and nobody asks any questions because everybody's a fucking zombie or they're drugged or whatever the case may be. They're coached from birth to just accept reality as it is. Which, if you just use that as an allegory for our situation, you can see why people are having such a hard time grasping any of these concepts as true. The Island is a good movie, though. I mean, they don't make movies like they used to, you know. Fuck Michael Bay for going to Epstein's Island. But, fuck, man. And once again, it's ridiculously embarrassing and sad that a lot of these ideas are not even necessarily original. It's just people talking about what people in our world have actually done to their victims. And the island goes hand in hand with what I was just talking about in American Horror Story, where Epstein himself was saying that they can clone a fucking body without a head. There are other emails there where he's talking about cloning people without arms so they don't fight back while they're being raped. It's... You know... Shit just leaves you speechless. Like, what can you say? Other than there's not enough guillotines in the world and they're not being used. So, next we have Black Widow, Marvel's Black Widow. Scarlett Johansson again. Ooh, I am kind of freaking myself out now. I don't want to, I always thought she was hot or whatever, right? But with MK Monarch and just the way that a lot of these celebrities might be engineered, it's interesting to see people and the roles they choose or what stories they're choosing to tell. And Black Widow, if you're not familiar with the Avenger movies or Marvel Comics, which I'm not an avid Marvel comic reader, but I did watch the Avengers movies and the relevant spin-offs or whatever, solo titles. Black Widow, she died. Spoiler alert. I should say spoiler alert on this whole episode because we're going to ruin every plot and tie them to things that happen in real life, right? So, Black Widow dies in the Avengers movies. And after the Avengers movies, I guess just because there was so much stuff happening, and I think COVID happened in 2020, it messed up their release schedule. Black Widow came out after the Avengers movies, and when she chronologically died in them, she's a spy assassin in the movies, right? That's what she's not really a superhero, but her skills are so honed that she's basically like unmatched by regular people. She can take out a squadron of men, of military trained men, just with her own body and maybe a weapon. Maybe she doesn't even need a weapon, but that's because she was a trained killer. And if we go and look, just like an episode or two ago when we were talking about Annika Lucas and Alondra Markman, they both talked about being trained to kill at a young age by a hidden cult of people here in America that regular normies might identify as Satanist. Satanist is... it's used as a catch-all term, but it's a lot more nuanced. That's what you need to understand now. The more we talk about Satanism or sacrifice, blood sacrifices, whatever the case may be. There's some people, and Kurt Metzger, this is not my words, but this is Kurt Metzger's analysis of what a Satanist is. Like, they're just like Hot Topic cashiers. You know what I'm saying? They're just like shock and awe, goth, makeup, whatever the case may be. The people we're talking about that have the billions of dollars to traffic humans into slavery to use for ritual magic, they don't call themselves Satanists. That's like baby shit to them. We don't know what they call themselves, right? They worship Baal or whoever knows what the fuck they worship, right? So, in Black Widow, it's basically shown that Scarlett Johansson's character and her sister, who was played by Florence Pugh, right, of Midsommar fame, they were both trafficked into they were sold off into human trafficking by their parents, and their parents were complicit too. They were agents. Their parents knew what was going to happen to these children, and they weren't the real parents. But they gave Scarlett Johansson and Florence Pugh to this syndicate of, in the Marvel, it's Russians. Right? And just like how the past couple weeks the media has been saying Epstein is a Russian asset, right? I don't know about that one. New York Times or New York Post. I really don't know about that one. But yes, so that's the plot of Black Widow. It's revealed that there is this massive human trafficking network that Scarlett Johansson and Florence Pugh, their characters were a part of. They were trained assassins, and they come together and end up they want to take down the syndicate to release the children that are still caught. And if you use just that movie, which sure, movies are an exaggeration of reality, right? It's supposed to be entertaining. If you use just that movie, there's literal squadrons of probably women and men who, from the age of 3, have been raped, abused, and trained to kill. So now that if they're walking around, they're the sleeper agents, right? Manchurian candidates, you could say. Look, I enjoy doing the show for y'all. I enjoy being informative. Don't take my smirks or my glee as like amusement by this. It's disgusting and horrific, and I condemn it. The sad part is, like they say, you never know who you are until you get money. So if you could even attempt to be sympathetic to these people, you never know what it would be like to be born into money and have to force to comply with stuff like this. So that's Black Widow, right? And the movie has a happy ending. Like, they take down the syndicate and release the girls, which it's just a movie, right? So from there, we'll go to a TV show that aired on Nickelodeon. Nickelodeon, having been exposed to have like hired many a pedophile, and then the shape of the Nickelodeon's logo itself being the shape of Jeffrey Epstein's island, right? There's a lot of rabbit holes here to go down, but specifically, I'd like to talk about season 2 of the first Avatar: The Last Airbender series, because they've had there's like a second series or whatever. But so the story of Avatar, right? There's people control the elements, right? Earth, water, air, and fire, and it's split up by the nations. And one day, the Fire Nation commits a genocide on the Air Nation because the leader of the Fire Nation finds out that there's going to be somebody born in the Air Nation that is going to stop their plans for world domination. So they just kill all the airbenders, which, thinking back on it now, it's literally insane that they introduced genocide in a children's show. But that's not even what we're talking about. Like, we're talking, okay, so there's one survivor. That's what the Last Airbender. That's what it's called, and the Avatar is somebody who embodies all of the elements. And it was foretold that this Avatar would stop the Fire Nation's plans for conquest. They kill all the Airbenders, and they manage to miss the Last Airbender, who is the Avatar. And part of what he's only a 12-year-old kid when he found out he was the Avatar. And anyways, long story short, he has to learn the 4 elements, master them, so that he can truly become the Avatar and stop the conquest of the world. And each there's 3 seasons only, right? So I'm not going to tell you the whole story, but basically he mastered air because he was an airbender. So the first book is water, the second book is earth, and the last book is fire, per whatever element he has to learn. And the second book, earth, they go to one of the nation's largest, one of the world's largest nations in the series, the Earth Nation. It's kind of reminiscent of China, right, or India, more China. And he's looking for somebody to teach him earthbending. And while they're there, he comes into contact with basically a secret police of the Earth Kingdom, and they maintain a control on their people. They basically serve the Fire Nation, right? There's a king of the Earth Kingdom, but he's just a figurehead. There are people in the Earth Kingdom who have been infiltrated and serve the Fire Nation. They work for power to like they're just committing treason against the Earth Kingdom and working with the Fire Kingdom, right? So this secret police, they go about abducting people who are aware of this or who are speaking out about it. And they have a facility under a lake where they re-educate people. And this is our connection to MK Ultra. Because there's this character, right, that the main characters interact with. And they're talking about a war that's happening. But the wealthy citizens, because this Earth Kingdom, the major city of this Earth Kingdom is divided by class, right? It's our caste, I should say, right? And the higher ups in the Earth Kingdom don't even know about all the stuff that's happening outside of their walls. They live their own rich little privileged lives. So when the main characters come and they're talking about a war, the war of the Fire Kingdom trying to conquer the Earth Kingdom, there's this character who works for the secret police, and her line that became famous and kind of like a slogan for other efforts in the world to silence protests, right? There is no war in Ba Sing Se. And she would say it with the smile and to deter any questions. People were brainwashed to MK Ultra and a kid show making robot killers, and they did that too. There was a character that the main characters interacted with. The secret police of the Earth Kingdom got him. I think they're called the Dai Lao. And using a torch, they fucking brainwashed him into turning it into a killer. So now when the main characters finally launch their assault on the secret police, they now have to fight one of their friends who's been brainwashed with MK Ultra memes. So there's that. We have next up one that I reference to people all the time, and I've been laughed at by referencing, because people, serious people, right, who live serious lives, who have children, who got a degree, I don't want to say they took this dig at me directly, but basically I'm like the fucking comic book guy from The Simpsons, right, who's just seen and read too much media and cartoons and bullshit. To them, it's just ha 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 ha. Look at this nerd. And Watchmen, created by Alan Moore, David Gilmour. I think his name is David Gilmour. I could be completely wrong on that. Alan Moore, though, is the creator and writer. He is linked. Also appeared on The Simpsons, funnily enough. He is linked and well, I don't want to. I can't say any cooperative or known. I'm not gonna state a falsity, right? So, but somehow he's been linked to the occult, magic, and stuff like that, right? So, Watchmen is about superheroes. In the Reagan era, and basically how they're being used by the government, right? So I guess I want to talk specifically to a thing that happens towards the end of the movie where one of the superheroes, who's like the richest man on earth, he attempts to use the power of one of the other superheroes to convince the world that it's under attack by aliens, and thus uniting them under one cause, humanity, and ending all wars. This was his big brain move, his move for peace. In the process, using that superhero's powers to convince the world that aliens are attacking us, he sacrificed millions of people in several different cities. And in the movie, they say nuclear weapons. It's not a... Or... In the movie, they blame it on the superhero, not aliens. So... The superhero who with the power to do that in question, which is Dr. Manhattan. He's like a... basically all powerful being, and you gotta watch Watchmen to really. I mean, we're already 42 minutes in. I got a few more to go through, so watch Watchmen. But basically, that's referencing Project Bluebeam. The government faking a staged alien invasion to unify us and create a one world government. Watchmen did it well, though. Watchmen did it really well. We have the X-Files, which every episode could probably link to something that happened in real life. You never know, right? I saw the entire series, and I guess the main takeaway, I wanted to reference the Black Goo and super soldiers. There's no proof that super soldiers exist. I mean, you could consider the trained assassins super soldiers, but genetically enhanced people, I mean, I can't speculate to that. But the thing I can say about the X-Files is they heavily insinuate that there is a shadow government, or at least a gathering of very rich and powerful men that make the actual decisions that move the UFO narrative and humanity's story along. And the linchpin to this idea in the X-Files is the smoking man. He's there, standing there behind every powerful person in the show, documenting what's happening, reporting back to his superiors, and threatening those who are acting out of line or who are going against the cooperative's agenda. Very sinister character, probably one of the best in TV history, right? We could do cut out a little corner for American Horror Story. The more that these things that American Horror Story makes TV shows about, the creators make TV shows about, the more that they're linked to things that happen in real life, the more distaste that I have for Ryan Murphy and Brad Falchuk getting rich off people's suffering, basically. American Horror Story Cult, we've talked about, right? It's about Evan Peters trying to become this cult leader, this Manson leader, but he's actually being kind of inspired by and pulled by his, like, I forget, there's like a saying or expression like that, but basically being led on by a higher level of cult that he's not even aware of. Scum, which is an all women's cult. And there's a point in time in the season where it shows these women meeting, and they let like a couple of gay guys into their circle, and that's the only men that they'll allow or they think is remotely acceptable, and they still treat them like fucking garbage. But women can't procreate by themselves, obviously, so that's why I guess they would keep gay men around just to create either more servants or more members of the cult. And I'm pretty sure there are some radical feminists who are flicking their bean to that fucking daydream or whatever. I would hate to even presume that something like this exists. Fucking psychopathic women who want to just castrate the entire population of men on Earth and become the rulers because of the fucking patriarchy or whatever. Like, I get women have been disparaged for I don't want to say since the dawn of time, but for a very, very long time. But it's just fucking absurd and ridiculous. Not to take away from the arguments of abortion and all this other shit. Like, my thing is when the Supreme Court went against Roe v. Wade, why half the population of America wasn't immediately in the streets instead of just whatever the fuck they did do, which is nothing. Like, January 6th happened, and caused a ruckus, got attention. Women are way more smarter than Trump voters, and yet they didn't do shit, and they're not doing shit. So forgive my my crassness on the subject of women's organizations and feminism and stuff like that. American Horror Story 1984. I just heard a clip from Candace Owens yesterday, and it's already been suggested that the military and psychiatrists hand in hand were creating serial killers just as experiments, just to see what they would do. And if secret societies are involved in this, then, whatever. American Horror Story 1984. A psychiatrist let loose a serial killer who wasn't really a serial killer. And also the Night Stalkers in there. Which, honestly, I think these dudes just have a really fucking disgusting fascination with serial killers. Which, can you blame them? America kind of primed them for that. With cold case files and forensic files and stuff like that. Which I enjoy. I'm not a hypocrite. So, from there, we'll do a Kubrick corner. Right? We have Dr. Strangelove, which actually is my favorite Kubrick movie. About a U.S. general in the military who goes rogue, and he ends up concocting this plan to destroy Russia with nuclear weapons and end the Cold War once and for all, so that the U.S. becomes a dominant power. At this time, I guess, mutually assured destruction had just become a reality, where since the Cold War, anybody who's had nukes kind of just agrees not to use them on the basis that once one is shot, everybody's going to have to shoot their load, and basically Earth becomes uninhabitable. So, in Dr. Strangelove, this general, he makes it so that it's basically impossible for the rest of the U.S. military to stop this operation. And instead of... the movie is kind of played up as a comedy, but when you watch it today, it's fucking... It's scary because of how incompetent the military still is. Not the military per se, but the leadership, right? So, when all else fails, they turn to the namesake of the movie, Dr. Strangelove, who is a paperclip Nazi, laid bare right the fuck in front of you. He does a Sieg Heil. He can't stop himself from Sieg Heiling. Right? So he's the most brilliant mind at the end of the day that they can turn to. And his idea is to create underground bases, take the hottest women, and repopulate the Earth after 200 years of nuclear holocaust on the world. You gotta watch that movie. If you don't watch anything other on this list, Doctor Strangelove is fucking amazing. And then you have Eyes Wide Shut, which was butchered, apparently, by people in the know. Which basically just exposes the Epstein child trafficking Illuminati class of people in society. A lot of people are becoming privy to Eyes Wide Shut. A lot of people should watch Eyes Wide Shut so they could see what would happen to people like Donald Trump if he decided to actually care about humanity. And I'm not saying he's a good guy, but what I try to tell my dad is like, you know, if you would do anything for your kids, right? Even if your kids are scumbags. Even if you yourself were a scumbag, you could still be a good father and be a scumbag to everybody else, right? Threats of death, a lot of people don't play with. A lot of people aren't so sure that God has them after the things that they've done in life, you know? I guess we could talk about a video game just to change up for a change of pace, right? I played this when I was maybe like 13 or 14. A really great video game. And I guess you could, with all this stuff, you can see how somebody could become desensitized. I think that's another purpose of predictive programming and all this other stuff, so that you just become desensitized. Call of Duty, you know? I couldn't, after I became like fully aware of the reality of what was happening in Gaza, I couldn't play Call of Duty anymore. I couldn't play it. It just, I don't know, man. Anyways, Dead Space. Dead Space, the story is like, it's far in the future where humanity mines asteroids and you're an engineer on a spaceship on a mission to go, you're responding to a distress signal where your girlfriend is stationed. It's very far out there on the oldest planet cracker. That's what they call them. On the oldest planet cracking vessel in the fleet. And you're master engineer or whatever, but you're worried about your girlfriend. And it's you and like a crew of maybe like 3 or 4 or 5 people. You get to the planet cracker and stuff seems off. And basically it's like a Resident Evil, kind of like it's in the vein of Resident Evil. I had never played Resident Evil up to that point, so I really, Dead Space has like a fond place in my memory, to the point where I still enjoy playing it, but I mostly don't want to play it because it's fucking stress inducing, right? So, everybody on board this planet cracker has been converted into mutagenic monsters that basically what happened was when this planet cracker got to this planet, they found something called the marker, which was giving off alien signals. They describe it in the show. And on planet Earth, there's a religion built around this marker way before they even get to this planet. So the marker makes regular people go insane, kill each other, and then their body is reconstituted into these mutagenic monsters who also go around killing people to make more monsters. And it's a dark take on what the UFO and alien phenomenon could be. And I recently stumbled across some information that kind of walks in step with the story of that show and how UFOlogy, aliens and stuff like that is they're trying to turn that into a religion now. It's disturbing. It's truly disturbing. We have two more before we get to real news. Evangelion's probably like the most what am I trying to say? Like most cranial. There's like a term for like ethereal, like to dumb it down. It makes you use your brain a lot. There's a fucking word. I can't think of it right now. But heady. It's not heady. There's an actual word for it. But Neon Genesis Evangelion, on its face, is like a mecha anime, which was very popular in the 90s. Like a teenage boy gets inside a robot and he fights monsters or other robots. Evangelion took this like concept and turned it into basically an initiation ritual into the mysteries. It's heavily influenced by Jewish Kabbalistic ideologies. It has the whole tree of life repeatedly shown throughout the series that the Kabbalist study or whatever. And which I wouldn't say is necessarily the tree of life Yggdrasil. I think this might be like a darkened version. But so the story, the robots are called Avas, and they're made from humans and these beings that the people in the show refer to as angels that are actually fucking monsters. And the angels were the first race here on Earth before humans. But it just so happened that whatever seeded life on our planet, there were two different seeds that came at the same time, and humans, just mind-boggling concept, because us ourselves, humanity, our lives have been reduced to the spans of maybe 80 years, if we're lucky, It's probably, that's what we were learning in school when I was 10 years old. We've been fucking bombarded with GMOs and who knows what, and 5G, who knows what the fuck else, right? It's mind over matter. So if you let that stuff get to you, if you fall into the medical doctrine and you get cancer and you can't beat it, or it's because you fucking follow these. You're at fault at eating McDonald's and eating hot Cheetos. I still eat hot Cheetos, right? But you're at fault once you get sick and you follow the doctor's orders. And these are the same people who fucking injected the whole population with a vaccine that came out after the fact. Because, vaccines are meant to prevent a virus. They're not used to treat a virus, right? I'm not a medical professional in any regard, and I knew that. But they changed the definition of a vaccine, as Jimmy Dore is so oft to say. So, that's Evangelion. And I saw that when I was like 18 or 19 years old, and it melted my mind. So we can end here before we go to the real news with Dewey Cox, The Walk Hard Story, a comedy with John C. Reilly on it. I think it might be a Judd Apatow comedy or whatever, right? Why are we ending with a comedy? With a lighthearted comedy, Dewey Cox, Walk Hard. Walk hard. Hard. Well, a thread in that movie is that Dewey Cox constantly is in contact with the Jews. And they're represented as literal caricatures of just fucking rabbis, Orthodox Jews, inside the recording studio, making decisions, right? From the time that Dewey Cox gets involved in music in the 50s to when he's at the end of his life in the 2000s, and they're fucking putting it, they interpolated his Walk Hard song into a rap song, and they're shaking ass on TV. And Dewey Cox is like talking to, when he first got involved with the Jews, he's talking to that dude's like grandson for whatever record deal that had to pertain to that rap song or whatever, right? So I'm of the mind that art imitates life, right? And the truth is stranger than fiction. Those two go hand in hand in my book. That's what we have to consider going forward when consuming media. When you read a news story and it sounds like a lie or it sounds too far-fetched, it's critical thinking. They're supposed to teach you this in school, right? It's just a joke. Well, in every joke, there's a little bit of truth. Even at the end of South Park, Kyle Broflovsky, the Jewish character, at the end of a South Park episode in recent memory where Cartman is possessed by Kanye when Kanye was doing his quote-unquote anti-Semitic rants. He has a little diatribe. Maybe I could play it. Basically illustrating that if Jews control the media, it's because that's the jobs that they were allotted to when they first got here from Eastern Europe or whatever the case may be. Nobody else wanted to do it. That's what they say. Now for some real news.
Jamie Lynn was on the road a whole lot with Brittany and I, and she was only like 8 to 10 years old. And when Brittany got on the bus, they had something to do for her.
Nickelodeon saw some of that footage of me being silly, making up characters, and wanted me to come in and audition for one of their shows. Yeah, met Casey when I was about 14 and he was 16. I mean, it all starts out very innocent, just like everyone's first love does.
They met at church. They met at church through mutual friends.
I was just going to movies, riding four-wheelers, comes to my house and hangs out with me and my mom, and I just knew it was going to be forever until it wasn't forever. When I became pregnant, the world that I knew came crashing down. I look back now and I'm like, oh my gosh.
Dan Schneider dealt with some major backlash when he was accused of abuse during his command at Nickelodeon. While Schneider has rejected the allegations made against him to this day, it was quite clear that there is something wrong when Nickelodeon finally parted ways with Schneider, who created some of the biggest shows in 2018. The rumors claimed he built a toxic and uncomfortable environment for many of Nickelodeon's stars. Facts, and find out whether Dan Schneider is Jamie Lynn Spears' baby daddy. Stay tuned to find out. This is a genuine assumption, but some fans have claimed that Jamie Lynn Spears, the star of Schneider's show Zoey 101, may have been targeted by the producer. During the filming of the series, Spears, who was just aged at 16 years old, became pregnant. According to reports, there's a baseless rumor that Schneider is the father of former Zoey 101 star Jamie Lynn Spears' kid, who was born in 2007. Well, this is definitely nothing more than a rumor.
From a hot man to one of the hottest women in the business right now, Megan Fox with me now. Why do you shake your head?
Because I'm pretty sure I'm a doppelganger for Alan Alda.
How did you know I'm a tranny? I'm a man.
You do not look in the mirror and not think you're beautiful. Don't even.
No, I'm so painfully insecure. Like I'm on the verge of vomiting right now. I'm so horrified that I'm here and embarrassed and scared.
Drink each other's blood might mislead people, or like people are imagining us with like goblets and we're like Game of Thrones drinking each other's blood. It's just a few drops, but yes, we do consume each other's blood on occasion for ritual purposes only. It is used for a reason, and it is controlled where it's like, let's shed a few drops of blood and each drink it. He's much more haphazard and hectic and chaotic, where he's willing to just like cut his chest open with broken glass and be like, take my soul, let me bleed on you. That happens? It doesn't not happen, let me tell you. Maybe not exactly like that, but a version of that has happened.
I've always been fascinated with things that cannot be explained.
What is it?
You wouldn't believe me if I told you, so I'm gonna show you.
And I've made a lot of movies about things that cannot be explained, from sharks to saucers.
Do you think there could be others?
When I was just a little kid, I remember developing a real curiosity about the sky at night and what's happening up there.
People have a right to know the truth.
And also, not the possibility, but the guarantee that there is life off this planet.
People keep wondering, encountering the unknown.
People's questions about what is not only going on in our skies, but what is going on in our worlds, in our realities, has reached a critical mass.
They're coming! They're coming!
Of people's complete fascination with, are we alone or are we not alone?
They are starved for the truth.
And if someone knows we're not alone, why haven't we been told?
Full disclosure to the whole world, all at once.
So what can I say at the end of this one, really? You've been initiated. Welcome to the Mystery School. You know, the more you look, the more you'll see. I guess I haven't really done this, but for any people who are watching, if you want to go ahead at the video and comment some examples of revelation of the method, or predictive programming that you've come across that you think are interesting or relevant to the things that we're going through currently, feel free. I really enjoy that. I really enjoy reading things I might not have considered or things I might have missed. I can only speak to what the Greeks refer to as the muses, right? If you have people on one end of the spectrum like Ryan Murphy and Brad Falchuk, who probably attend parties where they're cutting babies open and drinking blood and doing God knows what else. On the other end of the spectrum, you have someone like the creator of Fullmetal Alchemist, Hiromu Arakawa, a woman. She grew up on a farm, and she wrote one of the most successful stories and mangas, then later animes, that's ever been known. I mean, not on the level of maybe Dragon Ball Z, but I would put it right there next to, if not right under, Dragon Ball Z, which Dragon Ball Z is like a retelling of Superman, which is an alien that came to Earth that maybe was supposed to be bad, but actually now loves Earth, right? So I'm pretty sure there's more there in Dragon Ball Z as far as predictive programming and revelation of the method, but as far like just going back to Fullmetal Alchemist and the process through which some of these people might come up with their ideas, the muses, you know, when you take care of yourself, when you're a healthy person, right? Or if you're attempting to take care of yourself after what could be years of abuse through just like overeating or eating the wrong things or filling your mind with just stuff that is meant to, as the new age people would say, lower your vibration, which is a way of kind of just dulling your senses so that you're not aware of what's actually being said to you. Granted, most people don't have the depth of knowledge pertaining to conspiracy theories, so that when they're watching a movie, they're not watching a movie to connect it to things that happen in real life. They're watching a movie just to watch a movie. So there's that. But I guess some of the people who who are creatives are able to tap into the ether, you could say, tap into a higher level of flow state, you could even say. If you've seen Pixar's Soul, right? And they kind of illustrated this beautifully. When people become more aligned with just being, they're able to reach a higher level of being, I guess, if that makes sense. So somebody who isn't so polluted by living in a big city and having such a garbage diet or whatever the case may be, they might be more have more access to the muses or to source or to the ether to be able to communicate what might on the face seem like an original idea, but is an idea that's being drawn from collective consciousness, which is some people refer to as the oversoul, or I guess you could even say God, you know? It wouldn't be the first time somebody said God speaks through people. I think the saying is God speaks through children or something like that. Children and the artists, I would add. So, with that, thank you for joining me today. I hope this conversation today has opened things up for you in a way that the world and reality looks new to you. And whether or not you entertain all this conspiracy stuff, I think that's something that happens naturally. Thank you for joining me today. This has been The News Tonight.
It's understood that Hollywood sells Californication. Pay your surgeon very well to break the spell of hazing. Celebrity skin, is this your chin or is it what you raising? Firstborn unicorn.